Hello, good morning everyone. Hello. First of all, thank you for coming. My name is Laura. For those who don't know me, I'm part of the Captain's Club Concierge team that we are located on Deck 5 Midship from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in case you have any inquiries about your Captain's Club. Thank you for coming for the wine tasting. You have here Mercy. She's going to be your sommelier today, so she's going to explain all her knowledge. Thank you so much for coming. And in case again that you have any inquiries, please don't hesitate to come to the office on Tech 5 Midship. We have Concierge Celeste, we have also Concierge Janet, and the Chief Concierge as well. So anything that you need, please let us know. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Captain's Club Wine Tasting. And it's always a wine time. It doesn't matter what time it is, it's a wine time, right? And great to see familiar faces again. And it's always a pleasure to conduct this kind of wine tasting. So I got to see familiar faces again and again. So I don't have to repeat myself. No, I'm just joking. So welcome once again. Mercy is my name, and I am one of the sommelier on board. Currently, we are 19 sommelier, and we are led by our cellar master Charles from South Africa. Okay, so as we say, it's wine time. Let's not waste our time. So in front of you, we will see 4 different wines: 2 white, 2 reds. Right, 2 white and 2 reds. And this will start from the left and finish to the right. Okay? So the first one to the left. Left, yes. I'm a lefty, so I really have to know where is the left and the right sometimes. Okay? From the left, so I will tell you what are the wines first, and then I'll explain it to you about the labels and what are things that I would like you to know this time. Okay? The first to the left is a Riesling. It's a Cabernet Riesling from Moselle, Germany. And the second one is a Sauvignon Blanc from Chile. And the third one is a Catena Malbec from Argentina. And the fourth one is a Bordeaux blend from Bordeaux region of France. Okay? These are the 4 wines that we're going to talk about today. So the first wine that we have, please, I think everybody should be knowing how to evaluate the wine, how to do profiling of the wine. Okay, this is what I usually do. 5S is what I usually apply in profiling or evaluating of the wine. First, you see the color of the wine, okay? The first S, see the color of the wine. So, when you see it has the viscosity should be clear. There will be no hazy or cloudiness on the wine. And there should be no residue on the wine. It should be clear. The viscosity should be clear. And you should be able to know either it's a red, white, or a rosé, right? That's another thing. And then by seeing the color itself, you got to know, like, let's say, 15% of the profile that you will know by seeing. First is whether this would be, especially in the red, when it is a little bit on the ruby side, that means it is still young wine. And if it turns into brick color, which is mean older wines. And if it is lighter, because like Pinot Noir, let's say it's light, it's Cintron. So you got to know that that's a lighter wine, and then you go medium to full like that. So this is how you first check. First, you see. Second, you swirl the wine. So why do we swirl the wine? Is to aerate the wine, to incorporate with the oxygen, because most of the time when it's in the bottle, mostly it stays for a year or 2. Even though the vintage would say 2021, it will still stay for a longer period of time. So that's the reason why you need to aerate them, because the aroma is trapped inside the bottle. So to fast release the aroma, you aerate them. This mostly applies in the Chardonnay or reds. Mostly you don't really need to aerate Riesling or Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot Grigio, right? So this is what they do. Like when you order a bottle, the sommelier pour you a little drop in your glass. So that is for you to evaluate the wine, okay? So the first, you see the color. The second, you swirl it. And the third S is smell. So what is the profile of this wine? Little hint of sweet, gooseberries, honeysuckle, hint of petroleum. That is a typical Riesling that you will get it from the Mosel, Germany. So these are the profile that you will mostly get in a Riesling, okay? It have a little bit of Yellowstone fruits as well. As you can see, wildflowers. So these are the profile that you check. And what you don't want to smell in the wine? Vinegar, wet cardboard, rotten eggs. You don't want to smell them, but I have already smelled those kind of wines, so I know exactly why these wines should not be smelled like that. Because first, it's because of the aeration, oxidation. Mostly vinegar is, because the smell of vinegar occurs because the bottle is open for a long time. So it is exposed with the oxygen for a long time, so it got oxidized. And the second is not if there is, as you see how we store our wine. When you open a bottle, and if you see there is a cork with red going to until the tip of the cork, you might have this kind of odor like vinegar finishing because there is a lot of oxygen. Wine still need oxygen, but not too many. When it's aged, when it's even in the bottle aging. So if it's more than what is required inside the bottle, that's where you got a vinegar kind of sensation or smells. And wet cardboard and the rotten eggs usually happens because of the sulfides. Okay, sulfur dioxide incorporate with oxygen for a long time, that really can give you this kind of bad odor that you don't want to smell it in the wine. All the wine actually has sulfides. Some it will still not mention sulfide. It will still not mention saying contains sulfides because it really meet the requirement of the minimum sulfide contents inside the wine. That's why they don't label contains sulfides. But all the wine contains sulfides. Sulfide is not bad. It actually helps in aging process of the wine. But if you put more than what is required, that's the time that it really give you a kind of headache or rashes. That's where you feel like some of the wine, after you drink, you feel headache. It's because of the amount of sulfides present in the wine is much more higher because they can actually inject sulfides inside. They are allowed to, but some winery, they make it way too much. That's why this kind of things happens, okay? So traditional, if it's in the old world, mostly it occurs traditionally, so you will hardly have this kind of headache or rashes when you go to the old world wine. Mostly, the sulfides are injected mostly in the new world wine. Okay, I'll tell you about the old world and the new world in the later stage. So the next one that you will have is to sip and savor. So this has a sweet finishing, but still you have your saliva coming within your tongue, right? So this is quite acidic. The most acidic wine is actually a Riesling. Because of the sweetness or the dryness of the Riesling, sometimes you really don't feel the acidity. But the highest pH level of acidity in the white wine is actually a Riesling. Okay? It's even more acidic than the Sauvignon Blanc. So, but because of the sweetness or the dryness of the Riesling, that's why you don't really feel the acidity feeling. But how you got to learn about the amount of acidity is when your saliva flow within, like inside your tongue. That's where you find the wine is acidic. So, in German term, Cabinet is semi-sweet. Okay? So, in the Qualitätsprädikat wine, that's the German classification of the Riesling, you can have dry Riesling as well. All the Riesling are not sweet. You can even have a very dry Riesling, almost like a Pinot Gris kind of profile. So, the dryness is trocken, and semi-dry we have half-trocken, and we have cabinet style. This is the cabinet style, semi-sweet. And we have a Spatlese, Auslese, Beersloslese, Trocken Beersloslese, and ice wine being the sweetest of them all. Okay, ice wine has a little bit more different complexity as compared to the other Riesling, but that is how the sugar level or the sweetness level of Qualitätsprädikat wine is measured in a German Riesling. Okay, so after this one, you have the profile. You have your primary, tertiary, and secondary smells, and they're profiling your wine. So this is what we do when we do evaluation of the wine. Okay. So the first one that we have, as I told you already, this is a cabinet style of Riesling from Moselle, Germany. And the second one that we have, if you see the color, is a little bit more lighter as compared to the Riesling. Much more clearer, right? And one thing, when you do the profiling, after you swirl, and if you check, there is a rivulet which comes down from the glasses. And in the glasses, so that rivulet is called tears, church windows, or a lakes. So that is the indication of the sugar and the alcohol level of the wine. The tears, church window, or the lakes is the rivulet which comes down in the glass of your wine. So if you swirl and actually check the second one, it went pretty quick. It's very fast as compared to the first one that you have, right? So because this Sauvignon Blanc is actually a very light wine, it doesn't really have a lot of alcohol level. That's why the lesser the alcohol level, the faster the lakes goes down, okay? The quicker it goes down. And if you have more sugar or more alcohol content in your wine, the rivulet, or let's say the lakes, the tears, or the church window will be slower. So the slower the tears goes, the higher the alcohol volume. Okay? This is the indication of the alcohol and the sugar level of the wine. So when you smell it, this has a little bit more on the grassy notes, right? Grassy notes, little bit of a gooseberry, so very light and refreshing, easy drinking, bright in the acidity. So this is a Morpho Helena Sauvignon Blanc from the Central Valley of Chile. Morpho Helena is just not a name. It's actually a name of a butterfly. Okay, the winemaker make the name Morpho Helena, which means one of the indigenous butterfly that they have in Chile, because this butterfly, like it is, like the winemaker, he actually adopt biodiversity and sustainability in the winemaking. Okay, and this is organic as well. So when you talk about biodynamic, organic, and sustainability wine, that means they cannot use any kind of pesticides or fungicides or any kind of things or chemical which can harm both the environment and the grapes as well. So these, when you talk about organic and they have a stem of an organic, that means it has passed through the 3 years of inspection. So to get this certified organic, they have to go through inspection 3 years. Within these 3 years, there will be always an inspector who will go and inspect their vineyard unnoticingly. Okay? So they will just go and do the random check on the soil, on the grapes, on everything that they use, and they will make sure that they will not use this kind of thing which would consider not to have their organic certification to be lost. So once they finish within the 3 years and they proclaim that they have not used this kind of things that is not that is a requirement to have an organic, then they get a certificate and a stamp to have their biodynamic, sustainability, and organic farming stamp in their bottle as well. Okay? And if you see this one, it's a light, bright Sauvignon Blanc. It's a little bit different from when you go to New Zealand. Sauvignon Blanc has a completely different profile. And this one has completely different profile. And if you go to a Loire Valley, Sancerre or Puy-Fumé has a little bit of a complete profile. All of them are actually a Sauvignon Blanc. Why is that? Is because of the terroir. Okay? The terroir is the influence of all the, even the soil, the land, the elevations, the weather. So this comprises all terroir together. So the terroir from one place to another is completely different. When you talk about the Chilean, it's a little bit warmer in climate, which gives you much more fruit forward. Okay, much more higher in alcohol volume as well as compared to the other. Very less on the acidity. Okay, very easy and light drink. And when we talk about a cooler climate, like let's go Loire. Okay, in Loire Valley, we have a Sauvignon Blanc also. But they never mention Sauvignon Blanc. They either will say Sancerre or Puy-Fumé. So these are actually a Sauvignon Blanc, but they make it Sancerre and Puy-Fumé. That's an olden style of wine labeling in the olden days, in the old world wine. So, why is the difference between the Sauvignon Blanc that you are drinking now and the Loire is because of the terroir. Mostly the Loire is located where there is a mist and little bit more cooler climate. So when we talk about a cooler climate, the grapes ripen to ripe. It doesn't really give that kind of sugar that is needed. Like the sugar level is lower, so the acidity is much more higher, so it gets more crispier and drier as well, okay? And when you go to the New World wine, like California, Chile, or Argentina, or let's go for New Zealand, it's much more fruit forward and it gives you more. Because of the warmer climate, the grape ripen to that extent that the sugar content is much more higher. So when higher sugar content, the higher alcohol volume, and much more fruit driven in their profile of the wine as well. Okay? And the next one that we will have is a medium. If you see the red, the first red that we will be having here, if you see, you cannot see through in the white surface, right? So that's a medium to full body. That's a beautiful Malbec from Mendoza, Argentina by Catena. So Catena, why Mendoza is popular for their Malbec is because of the high altitude vines, okay? Mostly it is in the foothills of Andes Mountain. So Mendoza is the place where they usually do a lot of Malbecs because of their high altitude wines. So this Malbec can strive really good in a high altitude. The roots really have to penetrate inside to get the nutrients. So you get nice, robust finishing, hint of a dryness as well. So it really gives you a very low in acidity feeling as well. Okay, since this Mendoza is located in the, it's high as 5,000 meters above the sea level. Okay, at first, Malbec is not grapes of, is not known in Argentina. But because of the phylloxera which hit on the 16th century, so phylloxera is actually an insect that wipe out most of the vines in France to start with. Okay, this phylloxera, how it comes? Phylloxera is actually from California. So in the 16th century, when the California started to studies about the wine, they bring their vines and they started planting there in France. That's when the phylloxera eat the Vitis vinifera. So Vitis vinifera is actually the vine of this in France or in the old world wine. So the Vitis vinifera, they are not able to escape from this. So most of the wine or the vines are wiped out during this phylloxera in the 16th century. So to really get that back, they release out most of the root to the other places. That's where the Malbec landed down in Argentina. Carbonere landed down in Chile. So mostly Shiraz and all these places as well. Shiraz in Australia and they started growing in California, all this varietal wine as well. So they started giving out the rootstock so that they can get it back later once the phylloxera has been cleared from their area. And to that extent, what they do is they grafted the American rootstock with the French roots, all the Vitis vinifera. That's how they recreate most of the vines in the old world, mostly in the France, in the Bordeaux or Côte d'Ivoire region. Okay, so they grafted with an American stock so that they could have, they could really survive that phylloxera being eaten again. So that's how the Malbec comes by and say hi to Argentina. Okay, so mostly the Malbecs are nowadays known for Argentinian wine, but it's actually a part of the Bordeaux blend. So I'll talk more about the Bordeaux blend later. So and Carbonere is one of the Bordeaux blend as well, which is used as one of the grape in Bordeaux blend. But Carbonere at first, when they bought from France and the Bordeaux area to Chile, actually they thought it was a Merlot. They never knew it was they not nurture it like a Merlot. They plant it, they harvest it, they even bottle it like a Merlot. But once they check the genetic test of the 19th century, because the winemaker really feel like this is not a class of Merlot. So when they did the genetic test in 1992, to be precise, that's where they find out that this is actually a Carbonere from Bordeaux. So they say Carbonere was born in Bordeaux, born in France, died in France, and rebirthed in Chile. Okay, so nowadays Chilean is known for their Carbonere. So this Carbonere actually come from the France area. Okay, so if you see, it has a little bit of a dry finishing at the end as well, but still have the robust profile and a very soft tannin. So when we talk about the tannin, it's the dry sensation that you will get, or the harsh sensation that you will get in your tongue after you sip it. The tannin usually occurs because of the skin intact, the buds and the seeds of the grapes. Okay, these are the things which develop the tannin: skin, seeds, and sometimes if they don't short out, the buds and the leaves of the grapes are the one which give you more tannin. So the more you soak the skin inside the grapes, it's where the more tannic wine it comes. Like Cabernet Sauvignon, Zinfandel, it is much more tannic as compared to Pinot Noir, Malbec, Merlot, right? So because they soaked it in a skin for a longer period of time, plus the skin of the Cabernet and Zinfandel is much more thicker as compared to the Pinot Noir, Merlot, and the Malbec. So according to the oenology, like according to the winemaker, the perfect brix is actually the sugar content of the grapes. So this is this is the measurement where the winemaker actually decided what will be the perfect bricks to actually make the wine. So they say the perfect bricks to make the wine is in the range from 19 bricks to 28 bricks. So that's the bricks, the perfect bricks where they will make. So when you talk about 19 bricks, that means the sugar content is a little bit lower. So that will imply mostly the Champagne, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, the lighter wine will be made in the 19 to 20-ish, 25, until like 21. That's the bricks that they will make the white wine and the Champagne. And then Pinot Noir, Malbec, Merlot will be within the 23 to 25. And then from Zinfandel, Carmenere, Cabernet will be like 25 to 28. So this is like the perfect bricks of indication of the sugar content of the grape, where the winemaker actually makes their grapes, okay? There are some which is more than 45 as well, which are mostly port or ice wine. So those are different, right? You cannot drink it like how you drink the wine. So it is being served in the small glasses. Like 45 wine, like port wine, Madeira, or sherry are a little bit different winemaking style as compared to how they make the wine. Because 45 wine, when you talk about a port, especially the port, they stop the fermentation in the middle by adding brandy. That's why the thickness of the juice is still intact with the sugar content but high alcohol level. But sherry has a little bit different from the port again, because in sherry they finished the fermentation and they added brandy. So that's why sherry is much more lighter as compared to the port as well. Okay? So, and in sherry, they use the Sommelier system as well. That's a different story. It will take a long time to talk about all those kind of stuff. So this is how the indication of the bricks actually goes. And why the alcohol level in the port wine and sherry are much more higher is because they added more brandy to it that really level up the alcohol volume, okay? Last but not the least, let's go for the last one. So this is Moulin de Chateau Lagoon. Moulin de Chateau Lagoon. This is actually a Bordeaux blend, okay? When we talk about a Bordeaux blend, it's land within the sea. So this Bordeaux is divided into two. There is a river called Giron, bless you. Bordeaux is located in the northeast side of France, okay, northeast, which is nearby Cognac and Armagnac, okay, next to that. So Bordeaux is divided into two by Gironde River. There is a river flowing in between. So this Gironde River helped in dividing Bordeaux into two. One is the left bank and the right bank. Left bank and the right bank. Left bank is mostly a Cabernet base. Because of the gravel soil and little bit more sunlight is within the area. That's why it's mostly Cabernet based. And when you talk about a right bank, it's mostly a Merlot base. Okay, the most expensive wine come mostly from the Bordeaux area as well. So Bordeaux, as I told you, it's always a blend. It can be a blend of 6. Mostly they do it 3. Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Merlot, Malbec, and Carmenere. So these are the 6 grape varietals that can be used in Bordeaux blend. And at the moment, the one that you are drinking right now is actually Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Petit Verdot. okay? Mostly a Cabernet base, so you have little bit more heavier in the profile as well. So in the 1855 classification, that's the Expedition de Paris. That is the first time that the wine actually win a prestigious award. So this all come from the left bank of Bordeaux. And this Chateau Lagoon actually comes under the third classification. So the first classification, this is a very important for the wine people who likes wines, okay? When you go to the sommelier class, this is the first thing they ask you. What is the 1855 classification? So 1855 classification is, in the 1855, there is an Expedition de Paris in Paris where they showcase their artworks. And actually, they come with the Bordeaux wine as well. There are like 15 Bordeaux wine, which they showcase. Within that, they chosen 4. They choose 4 with that, 1855. Okay? Chateau Lafite, Chateau Margaux, Chateau Haut-Brion, and Chateau Latour. So these are the 4 vineyards that they choose, the first classification that win the winner. But they say when they say about 1855 classification, they always mention 5. But why in 1855 it's only 4? It's a tricky one, right? So on the later stage, 1973 is when Baron Philippe Rothschild come as a first classification. So that comes under 1855 classification. The first is 4. And then in 1973, this second classification, Baron Philippe de Rothschild, he really fight for it, and it becomes under the first classification. So that's why we have 5 in the first classification of Bordeaux 1855. It's quite a tricky whenever they have, we have a test also, you have to write this kind of stuff. If not, you will still get minus or 0, okay? So this is how the 1855 classification does affect. And then until now, currently, we have 5th classification. And in the 2nd classification, they have 14, okay. Oh, no one said broken. It's okay. So in the 2nd classification, there are 14 vineyard. And in the 3rd classification, that's where this one is 24. And in the 4th classification, another 24. And 5th classification, they have 61 vineyard, which comes under that. So this comes under the radar of 3rd classification, okay? So this is actually a blend of Cabernet Merlot and a Cabernet Franc. The most expensive wine up till that come from Bordeaux region, mostly from the left bank. We have it one in our ship on Apex and beyond. So that is Goliber Potter. It's actually quite pricey. A standard bottle, 750 ml, it costs $100,000. Oh, yes, that is one of the highest holding bottles that we have in Celebrity. Yes, that's it. I can afford it. So this is the one of the highest bottle we hold in Celebrity. If you by any chance go and visit Celebrity Apex or beyond, you go to Fine Cuts. It's not a barber shop, okay? Fine Cut is not a barber shop. So Fine Cut is actually a steakhouse in the H class. They will showcase that bottle. It's actually only a 2016 vintage. It's not even that old. Because they thought they will even name the grape varietal. One is Malbec, and I'm still forgetting the names. But this wine. This is expensive because they thought during the phylloxera, as I talk about the phylloxera already, they thought all the vines are wiped out during the phylloxera. But somehow they retrieved back few of them, like five another grape varietal, which were grown from before the phylloxera. And that's what make it much more expensive because it is grown or made in a very limited quantity. Okay, so that's mostly a culled wine. So that's how the Bordeaux are much more expensive as compared to the other. Here, the highest price that we hold is also from Bordeaux. It's from the right bank, a Merlot base called Chateau Petrus. It's $7,500 a bottle. We have it in Murano, okay? So thank you very much for joining us for the wine tasting today. I hope you all enjoyed and I didn't bore you much. And if you have any question, please do let me know. And we have our label out here. You can even click a pictures. Thank you. Have nice little thing.
Nalgoa. You can't win Nalgoa.
Life throws storms across our way. Heavy nights, long dark days. Everyone falls, everyone breaks. But hope is born in the choice we make.
When the road feels hard to climb and the answers take their time, every tear.
That's why I like to switch my wine.
I was gonna say.
Yes.
Yes.
I switch the wine.